Hello teachers, and welcome to this video on how to make a reading class more interactive. This video is going to help teachers with series such as Step Into Reading, Wonders, Story of the World, and other series that involve lots of heavy reading. Now, these are some of the most commonly used lessons or lesson material that we use here at eJoy, and that's the reason why we wanted to dedicate this video, a whole video to it. Now, in order to look at concrete examples, we're going to be looking at a lesson in the Step Into Reading series. However, keep in mind that the principles, they can be applied to any series. So here we go. We have a Step Into Reading G3 Lesson 7 as an example. So looking this story over, as you can see, we have quite a bit of reading to do, just like the rest of the series. There's the vocabulary, the mind map, comprehension questions, etc. When I first started teaching this series, I would do that in the exact same order. However, I found that over time, my students were really struggling to answer the questions in the comprehension part, as well as the mind map. And even when I was preparing for the lesson, I found that I had to scroll back up to look for the details that the questions are requiring. And that's because the students, as they're reading, they really don't have an objective. They don't really know what they're looking for. So in this video, we're going to see how we can mix things up again, change up the order to help the students have that objective and to make the reading more interactive and engaging for them. One important tip with teaching these kinds of series is, of course, not just having the student read everything in one go. They're going to get bored, they're not going to be paying attention. So one thing that you can do is to highlight just like 2 or 3 paragraphs, have them read it, and then pause, and then go back and reflect on the mind map, comprehension, or vocabulary. So first off, let's take a look at the vocabulary. Now, many times a student will already know many of the vocabulary words. So by reviewing this first before they go into the reading, it helps you to find out, okay, which vocabulary word should I concentrate more on so you don't waste time explaining words that they already are familiar with. Take a look at my student Yulan, for example. Now, this is before the actual reading.
Are you familiar with these words, or is there a word that you've never seen before?
Isn't it kind of like some animals like climb trees?
Exactly, good.
So trees made of wood.
Yes, fantastic, good, awesome. It's whisker.
A cat has whisker.
Yes, excellent, good. We would say it in plural because they have many, right? Whiskers. Are you familiar with this one?
I don't know. No.
Ah, okay. So chomp, we're going to look for this word in the reading, and then in the context, we're going to be able to understand it better, what it means. All right, so we're going to look out for this word.
So notice that she already knows most of the vocabulary words. Just the word chomp she's not familiar with. And that's great because now she has the opportunity to understand this word based in the context of the actual story. So once we arrive to the paragraph where the vocabulary word is mentioned, we can pause and then discuss it and maybe even make a sentence for it. Take a look.
Look, here's our vocabulary word, chomps. It says that when he chomps, it wears down his growing teeth. So it helps his teeth. So what do you think chomps mean?
Is it like it is very strongly chomps?
Yes, okay, good. You included a very good word, so very strongly. But what does he do very strongly?
I think it's like eat.
It's the process of eating, but it's kind of like when you start to eat, you bite something. So you chomp it. So can you make a sentence with chomp?
Likes to chomp on the fish.
Ooh, poor fish. Poor little fish. Excellent, Yulan. Great sentence. Fantastic.
So perfect. She fully understands what the vocabulary word means now, and we didn't waste time with the other words that she already knew. So this, of course, can be applied to any lesson material that involves heavy reading. You discuss the target language before the actual reading. You try to see which words they need help and guidance with, and then during the actual reading, you pause on the paragraph with the vocabulary word, and then you discuss it. Okay, so the next part is the mind map. So before we begin the reading, we look over our mind map and what we're expected to review. In this case, we need to retell the story in the order of the events. So in order to get the ball rolling, after I have Yulan read the beginning of the story, I go back to the mind map. So we write down right away what happened at the beginning of the story, so step 1. And each time during the lesson that we read 2 or 3 paragraphs, we go back to the mind map until we have finally completed the entire exercise. This is great for students because it keeps them engaged and it keeps them thinking throughout the reading. And it also gives them a sense of accomplishment because they successfully complete the exercise, so they're pretty excited as well. Step 3 are the comprehension questions. So as you can see in this lesson, there's lots of facts about the porcupine, and these are reviewed in the comprehension questions at the end of the reading. But watch how easily Yulan responds to the comprehension questions after we reflect on the paragraphs that contain the answer.
Great job, Yulan. Good reading. Fantastic. Okay, so look, Yulan, we can answer our first question. So what are some of the favorite things that a porcupine would like to eat?
Just want to eat dandelions and apples.
Yes, exactly. Very good. Dandelions and apples.
And we can apply this process to any reading series. Basically, you just take the comprehension questions and distribute them accordingly throughout the lesson. Sometimes they won't give the correct answer, and then you can guide them accordingly based on the paragraphs that you highlighted. Step 4, ask additional questions. So these are questions that can be prepared before the lesson, or maybe it just comes to your mind during the lesson. But again, it's to keep the student engaged.
Porcupine? But what kind of porcupine? Is it an adult, a big porcupine?
I think a baby porcupine.
Yes, fantastic. What's he doing in the picture?
Let's just look at big insects.
And where's his mama?
It is above the tree.
Yes, exactly. Good. She's sleeping up above him in the tree. So can he climb as high as his mama?
No.
No. Poor little guy. That's why he's down here.
So try to include these types of questions throughout your lesson, especially if your student is shy or maybe doesn't reply in full sentences. In the case with Yulan, when I first started with her, she was so shy. She barely talked at all. But then after reflecting and looking back on my lessons, I realized that I was talking too much. I needed to start asking more. And little by little, she started to open up, and now she replies fluently. She even shares her own opinions. So by asking questions, you're inviting a shy student to open up more. And that's one of the most wonderful benefits that we can get by asking additional questions. And this can be applied to any lesson that involves heavy reading. So again, the point is to not just dive right into the reading, but to first go over the questions, vocabulary, or an extra activity to help them know their objective. What's their goal? What are they listening for? What are they looking for? What details are they trying to find? And then it helps them to be more successful in answering these questions. And it keeps them thinking throughout the lesson. You know, it takes teamwork to get through the lesson, and the wonderful result is a student that feels successful and like they accomplished something. And that's what we want. We want the student not to just be a good reader, but we want them to be a good thinker of the language. Again, these are just some tips that I found helpful and other teachers as well. But again, if you have some other tips or tricks that you would like to share, please feel free to share with other teachers because we all need help from each other. Thank you so much for watching this video and happy teaching!